11:59 on 11:59 on my Apple Watch.
Do you like it? Love it.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Okay. Welcome in, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar today, Franchise Workshop. And we'll get started here in about a minute. Okay. Great.
Oh, Sean came in differently.
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, we got people coming in. Welcome to our webinar today, Franchise Workshop.
Maybe get started at about 12:02. Is that okay? It's 12 o'clock. I haven't seen Sarah come in yet. She might be coming in a little late this time. I think Andrea might be frozen there. She was. Am I okay? Yeah, I'm good. Okay. Maybe they don't have such a good internet connection in Weddington. Ah, you're back on again.
I lost my internet
I
connection.
know. I know.
I'm scared. Okay, everybody, I am
All
sorry.
right.
Never happened.
Never happens until you really need it.
Wow. Okay. And
Yeah.
let's see. Great. We have 58 people in so far. Welcome in. I guess we'll go ahead and get started, Mike. You want to do that or you want
Yeah, we should because we want to get it's a nice day outside. I want to get everybody in and out.
to? Okay.
Good.
All
So
right. You go ahead and start.
yeah, I will. Thanks, Andrea. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our semi-annual SCORE workshop. Although it's not semi-annual any longer because we're going to have one in July and then have one in, I think, October as well. So we have three of them a year now, but good to have everybody here. It looks like about 200 and something odd people signed up, and that's great. Just a couple of housekeeping items. Everybody's on mute. If you've got questions along the way, put them in the question and answer box, the chat box, and we will answer them when we can at the end of the presentation. I know some of you probably know who I am on the call. Most of you don't. My name is Mike Hall. I'm with FranNet Carolina. We are a franchise and consulting and placement firm located here in Charlotte, working primarily in the Carolinas, North and South. We place people into franchise companies. There's going to be a lot more on that later about exactly what we do, but I'm the one that's going to be emceeing this event. And again, like I said, 70 degrees outside, a nice day. You could be doing other things with your time. We are glad you're here. We're going to get you out of here as quickly as we can. So I'm hoping that you're here today because you've got an interest in business ownership, and what we want to do is provide a high level look and an education on a very popular way of getting into your own business. And of course, that is through franchise ownership. We'll talk about some other alternatives as well, but we're certainly going to concentrate on franchising. I'd like you to have three takeaways. Okay. Number one, I want you to come away with an understanding of what the franchise model is, the opportunity that it provides for business ownership, and how that model compares to other forms of business ownership. Want to give you an idea of the diversity of franchise opportunities and concepts that are expanding into the Carolinas and really across the US. You might be interested to know that there are about 3,900 franchise companies in the United States, more coming online every day. It's a very popular way to get into business. And we also want to tell you about some additional resources at your disposal should you have an interest in pursuing business ownership, whether it's a franchise or whether it's not. And even though she's not on the call right now, I expect we'll have our financial person on the call here in just a little bit. And she's going to share some insights too into ways that you can finance your business. So we've got a lot crammed into today. Hopefully you'll gain a perspective on things to consider when thinking about owning a business. This is going to be a fast hour and 15 minutes, so buckle up. Keep your hands and legs inside the cart at all times. To get started, just a word about SCORE from my perspective. We've been associated with SCORE for a long time. We're a proud partner both here in the Carolinas and nationally. And we are proud to sponsor SCORE on a local and national level. SCORE does great work. They offer a lot of resources to those considering business ownership. Whether you're starting your own business, whether you're buying a business, whether you're expanding a business, it doesn't matter. Or buying a franchise. They do it free of charge. They use former business owners. They use executives acting as mentors. This is a truly valuable resource. And I just want to say thanks to them, as I always do, for allowing us to be a partner, for putting on this webinar. I'm going to introduce you to Andrea Kelly, who does all things marketing for SCORE. And Andrea is going to tell you a bit more about their services and what they do. Andrea, go ahead, and I will give you a slide.
All right, thank you. Again, as Mike said, my name is Andrea Kelly, and I am here with SCORE Charlotte. And I'm just going to take a minute and talk about who we are and what we do and how we can help you. We are, as Mike said, we're a national organization, and we are comprised of volunteers. We've been in existence for about 60 years, and we have chapters all over the country. We here in North Carolina, as you can see from the slide, before I get ahead of myself, you can see what we do for small businesses. We are in part funded by the Small Business Administration, and we offer all sorts of free services for people that are trying to grow their businesses. We have confidential mentoring, which is free. We have educational programs. We have networking events, and we have community outreach events. And we actually have a pitch event, which is happening in the next couple of months for small businesses that are looking to get free services, and the grand prize is $5,000. So if you visit our website, Mike, next slide, please. You can see our website is score.org if you're interested in our services and how we can help you. And again, you can see the chapters here on the left side, all of them in North Carolina. Again, we are the largest in Charlotte with over 90 volunteers. So I would like to thank Mike Hall. He is from Friend Carolina. He is a sponsor of SCORE Charlotte, and we appreciate all of his support. And with that, I am going to turn it over to him for our webinar today on franchise ownership. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. Again, I can't tell you enough how good SCORE is. So feel free to reach out to them through their website if you think you've got questions. As for me, 34 years in the franchise business, 32 years as president of FranNet Carolina, 20 years as owner of Empire Business Brokers. I am rooted in small business. I was a corporate professional. I was one of those people that knew that corporate America wasn't for me after about 10 years into it. But I knew that business ownership was, and I've really managed to build a wonderful career here, I think, and enjoy some success through FranNet, through starting FranNet Carolina. We've placed hundreds of people into ownership over the last 32 years. Very, very proud of that. Of course, I also started and ran Empire Business Brokers for 20 years. It gave me really another perspective on how people buy businesses, and I think just added to the experience. Business ownership is right for me. It's right for many of our clients. It's not right for everybody. may or may not be for you. Today, I hope that we can help you answer some questions and give you some things to ponder if you are dreaming about, wondering about, thinking about business ownership in any way. While they are here with me, I want to take the opportunity to introduce you to Heidi and Sean Hillman. And I have a special reason for doing this because we are undergoing a change of leadership here at FranNet Carolina. I'm excited to tell you that Heidi is coming in as president to run this thing along with husband Sean. And I'll actually be working for them, which will be a new role for me. After 32 years, it's time to probably reverse roles here. And for those of you who are on the call and know me, this is a big change, but a really terrific one. I'm excited to see what they can do with FranNet Carolina, but of course I'll be working as a consultant for them, probably talking to a few customers along the way. And I just wanted to get that out there and let people know, especially those who know who we are. Heidi and Sean bring a great deal of experience with them. They are franchise owners, as all of us are. I think that lends hopefully a lot of credibility to what we do. Who is FranNet Carolina anyway? We are a franchise consulting and a placement firm, have offices throughout North America. We happen to own the offices here in the Carolinas. We have a goal. We have a single goal to match our clients with the right business. We do this with an exclusive assessment and a matching process. It works wonderfully well. We've been doing this a long time. We enjoy national partnerships with small business development centers, with SCORE, with the SBA, with a lot of people associated with business ownership. We do not sell franchises. We advise clients on which ones to buy. It is a service that is free of charge with zero obligation. And in fact, I talked about the matching process. We use an assessment, and I'm happy to send that assessment to anybody on this call today. You can take it at no obligation, and we're happy to send you the results. A good way to think about us is to think about us as an executive recruiting firm for franchise companies. If any of you have used a recruiting firm to get a job, you know that they're going to assess you. They're going to understand your strengths and weaknesses. They're going to put jobs in front of you that make sense. We do exactly the same thing with franchise companies. So like I said, great process to go through, and hopefully you'll take advantage of it and want to learn more. I am guilty of loving my quotes, and I love my quotes. And I love this one more than anything, and I've used it in my letters and emails to people for years. We are called to be the architects of the future, not its victims. I think business ownership is about control primarily. I think much of what business ownership is having some say-so in and controlling your future. I think it gives you a chance to be the architect of your own future, to have control over what you do. And that's why I love this quote, and I will use it for as long as I'm doing this. But I hope that makes some sense to you. Owning a business is a big deal. It's a big change in people's lives. A lot of people coming out of corporate America with big positions don't fully understand the difference in this and business ownership and the thought and the research that it takes to go into it. And of course, that's what we're here to help. You need buy-in from your spouse, from your partner, from your family, whoever this might affect. Even if you're thinking about starting a business while continuing your career, and you can do that with franchise ownership, this is still a big change. Thought you might be interested in who these folks are that are making this kind of life change. Something about our clients, who they are, and who comes to us. So our clients understand the job market versus their age and versus their skill set. And of course, the older that they are, and if they're between jobs, it becomes a bit harder to find a new position. Our clients understand job security and income security. Job security means income security, but job security is not always there. Our clients are reallocating their assets because they're looking at business ownership as building an asset, and that's what you should do. A valuable asset worth a lot more money than you have into it. They're thinking about lifestyle. They're thinking about work-life balance, which is a bit of a counterintuitive thought when you're thinking about business ownership, because you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to work really hard to build this, and you will. But most people are working toward a work-life balance that they can't get through corporate America. Our clients are considering business ownership to be career ownership and controlling what they do. Our clients are people that are in transition between companies. They're looking for second incomes. It might be a spouse returning to the workforce, veterans, current business owners who have built up a business and now have sold it and now want to add a franchise because a franchise adds systems to it. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. So that's a little bit about who our clients are. And whenever we're talking to our clients, we're always asking them questions, lots of questions. And the first one we start off with is, why in the world do you want to own your own business? And there are a lot of reasons, but this is primarily what it's all about. It is about wanting to control what you're doing. It's about financial security. In many cases, it's about no more layoffs if somebody has been laid off a number of times. And it's sometimes about money. Now, let me tell you, it should never always be about money, but it's sometimes about money. But if people can get that base, then what do they have? Now they have more fulfillment. Now they're beginning to have a balance of lifestyle because they've got the control, they've got independence, all of this leading to success. So I think it sounds really good, right? I want balance and control in my life with my career, my family, etc. And yet, probably about 30% of our clients buy a business and 70% don't. Now, a lot of them come back to us. But why is it that people, what stops them, right? What is it that people think about first? Oh, no, I'd love to own my own business. It might be just too risky, right? Let me say that any form of business ownership involves some risk. We can mitigate the risk through a franchise. You can't eliminate it. Our clients see franchising, and we make sure they do, as a risk mitigation model, not a risk elimination model. Our clients tend to ask us a number of questions. We get into things like, is it safer to own a business or work for somebody else? It's a matter of perspective, isn't it? I get it that if you're between jobs and you end up with a new job, you can breathe easier, you've got benefits now, you've got a salary, that sort of thing. But I will tell you that during the last big recession, which was 2008, we put more people into business than we ever did before then and after then. Our own business thrived as well as a lot of other people. Another question that we get a lot is, as people think about how risky this is this a good time to start a business? We just bombed Iran. So the economy shifts, world events change, and this question comes up time and time again. I have had people say, it's a bad economy, I don't want to start a business. It's an uneven economy, I don't want to start a business. The economy's too good, not time to start a business. Let me tell you that any economy is a good economy in which to start a business. You need to start the right business. You need to start the right business. And that's part of what we're here for, is to point you in that direction. We have clients that want it both ways. They want to work in corporate America and start a business, and you can do that with franchising. It's not easy, and we'll never tell you that it's easy, but it is something that people consider a lot. If you have that consideration or you want to talk more about it, feel free to call us. Of course, we're going to tell you about it. These are called semi-passive business models. So if you're on the call here and you're thinking about business ownership, I'm going to tell you right now that there are 3 ways for you to get into business. And as far as I know, there are only 3 ways. Start a business from scratch. Your own idea. People do it every day. People are successful every day. And there are advantages and disadvantages to this. You're doing exactly what you want to do. You're building on an idea that you have ultimate control. It's a good thought process. People can buy an existing business, one that's already been built, selling for a reasonable price, and something that has upside potential that you can expand. There are advantages and disadvantages to that. And of course, there is also buying and starting up a franchise. And we're going to talk about all of these fairly quickly here. Just starting a business from scratch, having total control, making all your decisions, maybe leveraging your creativity. It's something really nice to think about. You get to write the rules. Could have a large upside. Might not be as expensive as getting into a business other ways. There are disadvantages. You got to create your systems to run that business. And if you're going to build a business and it's going to be sustainable, you have to have the systems to do that. And unfortunately, you've got limited financial options because you go to a bank and you say, I've got a great idea. I just need some money. I want to start a business. They are going to look at you a bit differently than if you come to them and say, either I'm buying a franchise or I'm buying a resale business. Is there a higher failure rate? Yes. But don't let that stop you. Very oftentimes people fail because they simply haven't done the right business plan or prepared correctly for this. So don't let that stop you. But I do want to talk about this for a second. And you hear this quite a bit. Hey, create a business from something you're passionate about. Do something you love to do. You'll never work a day in your life. And my thought about that is, maybe. Unfortunately, what we're mostly all passionate about doesn't make any money. And I've never had the creativity or the talent to do something that utilizes my talents and actually make money. What you need to be passionate about is business ownership and what business ownership can give you. So I don't want you to get hung up on thinking about business and that it has to be something that you're passionate about. Otherwise, people wouldn't start HVAC businesses and plumbing businesses and septic tank cleaning businesses. But you know what? You can make a lot of money out of those. So we talked about buying an existing business. There are advantages to that. It has positive cash flow coming out of it. Hopefully it has goodwill. That is a lot of customers. You've actually got financial results you can take a look at. Lenders like that. Hopefully you've got a market established. Hopefully you've got some good employees in place. Sometimes you don't. And hopefully the owner established systems that run that business. But like I said, that's pretty hard to do. Disadvantages could be cash flow. Sometimes you want really clean books when you're looking at a business to be able to make a good decision on it. Poor training and support. You've got to make sure that if you're going to take over a business, you've got a long time with the business owner, the current owner, to train. Could be the wrong employees. I've done that myself. You know, if you buy a business and everybody has the last name of the owner, you might want to rethink that one. Could be higher debt service. It could be an inconvenient location. When I owned Empire Business Brokers, we would find a light manufacturing plant for somebody that lived in Harrisburg, and the plant was located in Greensboro. And then, well, they can't move to that. So location plays a part in here as well. So without expanding on this too much, advantages and disadvantages to buying an existing business. So we're here primarily to talk about buying a franchise. And my question to you, of course, is, should you consider buying a franchise? What do you think of when you think of franchises? And isn't this the answer? You think of the franchises that have a big brand name, generally associated with food. Interestingly enough, only 35% of franchises in the country are food related, hotel related, let's call it leisure related. But you know the brand names. So out of almost 4,000 franchises, think about that. Only a little over 1,000 or food businesses, that leaves 2,500 to 3,000 being something else entirely. And that's the field that we work primarily in. So let's talk about what a franchise is anyway. I know most of you probably have an idea. I said before that a franchise was a risk minimization model, not a risk elimination model. A franchise is providing a system, is providing a chance for you to buy a license. And that license allows you to use a name and trademarks to use the products or services offered by the franchise, and of course, to use their business systems. And those systems are very, very important, as we've talked about before. You don't have to build them, which can often take years to build a good system. What a franchise needs is your talents and your skill set to use the systems and to operate the business that they have. Your skills might be in sales, and marketing, operations, HR, IT, it doesn't matter. What we can do at FranNet is utilize those skills as input for criteria of a business to put you into that makes sense. You don't need to have experience in the business. Now, of course, the way a franchise makes its money is an initial franchise fee, or what we call a licensing fee, which everybody has to pay in the country. It's exactly the same number for everybody. And of course, ongoing royalties. And ongoing royalties are the way that franchises make their money. Franchises tend to be very scalable, relatively simple business models. They can be owned, they are owned, you own them. They can be built. You can build multiple units, multiple territories. You can put franchises on top of franchises. They can be run by anybody that's a good fit. There are many ways to scale a business like this, and we have a lot of customers that scale their businesses into the millions of dollars. As you grow, you can build income, and you're building equity. Owning a business is just a franchise. You've got a franchisor there supporting you, and the royalties that you pay, theoretically, are offset by the advantages that the franchise company gives you. And we see that time and time again, that the royalties actually make a lot of sense. So just want to make sure you know what a franchise is. And you also probably should ask the question, why does a company franchise this business in the first place? Right? Well, they do it to expand. If you think about how a company can grow its business, they're one of several ways. It can internally finance it. It can go public, but really filing with the SEC, and very few companies are able to do that. Or you can franchise it. And a franchise is a way to create a distribution system, if you will, of your model. You actually you have a concept. It's up and operating, and now you want to expand it. So now you're finding owners out there who are actually paying you to expand the franchise model. You're collecting those franchise fees, you're collecting royalties, but what you're giving in return is ownership. So you think about, for example, Kinko's, right? It's not a franchise, it expanded internally. Think about UPS Store, which used to be mailboxes, etc. They decided they're going to franchise that business. You've got maybe 900 Kinko's, you've got 5,500 UPS stores throughout the US. So now you understand something about why a company franchises this business as well. It's a way for them to grow quickly, efficiently, gain market share, and to give ownership at the same time to people that want to own a business. That's why we like the model so well. And it really is a great fit for people coming out of corporate America who've never owned a business before. Now they can step into a business that has a system. In some cases, it has a brand name. It may be just a local brand name as opposed to a national brand. Yeah, I always like to kind of play this game here. I'll probably have to change these logos before long, but one of the things I find that's interesting is that You use franchises every day, you just don't know it. So if you look at these, which ones are franchises, right? It's you might not get all this right. I just told you about Kinko's. Kinko's is not a franchise, but the UPS store is. Of course, Subway's a big franchise with 30,000 stores throughout the US. Great Clips, Supercuts, big franchise. Orange Theory, big franchise. We actually represent Orange Theory, by the way. What about Starbucks? It's amazing how many people think that's a franchise, but it's not. They're all corporate owned. How about Hampton Inns? Most lower end hotel chains are franchises, just like ServPro. You see the ads for ServPro, the restoration business, you see them on television like it never happened. Big franchise. What about Chick-fil-A? Do you know how many people call us every year and say, I'd like to buy a Chick-fil-A, can you help me? The answer is no, you can't buy a Chick-fil-A, and no, we can't help you. It's a wonderful business. It's not really a franchise. It looks like a franchise. They even have a franchise page because they do collect royalties from their stores, but you can't own the stores. You can only manage the stores. You can only manage a certain number of them, 2 or 3, I think. And if I told you how hard it was to get accepted by a Chick-fil-A, you would not believe me. So, as you can see, a lot of franchises you use every day, you probably don't even think about it when you walk into them. They're everywhere. I talked about advantages and disadvantages of starting your own business and buying an existing business. How about a franchise? It's got advantages and disadvantages as well. In some cases, name recognition on a national basis. In many cases, not. If I ask 100 people in a room, what's the largest commercial cleaning company in the country? Almost no one could answer the question. And yet, it is a very large franchise company and a very successful one. So, name recognition, important for food, not necessarily important for other businesses. There are generally licensed trademarks associated. There's obviously a proven business system that you're buying into and you're learning about and you're going to train on. There's a lot lower failure rate. Very often a lower cost to get on and better financing options. And also lots of location choices, something you don't get with buying an existing business. What I think is almost more important here than anything, and this is what we help people do, there is a chance to do completely unbiased research and a lot of research before you buy a franchise. And that's very, very important because this is a significant investment and you want to do it right. Our average clients probably take 14 to 15 weeks just doing the research before they buy anything. And of course, there's that franchise family out there too. A lot of people across the country doing what you're doing. You build these relationships, you share best practices along with the franchisor. Look, there are disadvantages. There are fewer industry options about or of what you can do. If you want to build automobiles or automobile engines, I can't help you. There's a structured operating system. There's a system that's already built for you. Franchisors tested this. They're pretty good at it. They're pretty sure it works. Some people can't operate under that, especially a lot of business owners who built a business themselves and then are trying to buy a franchise. Sometimes that's a difficult transition for them. There are territory restrictions. You can't just put it anywhere. You actually buy a large territory, generally a large territory, in which to operate your franchise. You can buy multiple territories. You can only sell their products or services. You can't add to it. In some cases, you can with special permission, but not generally speaking. But you can add other businesses to it. We see people stacking businesses, franchises on top of franchises. For example, somebody that starts an HVAC franchise, and there are several, may end up putting a landscaping franchise on top of that because they've already built the customer base. They got those ongoing royalty payments, which I told you about, which a lot of people kind of scratch their head about, but if the franchise is doing this thing correctly, they're giving you more value in building your business than you're paying in royalties. And of course, like any business startup, there's little initial cash flow from the very beginning. Now, some franchises can ramp up much faster than others. But understand that. And of course, this is what we're always talking to our customers about. So just a little information about the advantages and disadvantages of franchising. Today, there are almost 3,900 franchise companies, 90 different industries, 800,000 individual operating units. We like to call it the big small business. We are putting people today into education, kids' education. Yes, some food businesses. We do some food. Fitness, as you might imagine, is huge. Wellness is huge. Senior care is huge. Pet industry is huge. Home services is much bigger. These are the popular categories that we're putting people into and what's trending in 2026. Just to expand on that a little more, and to give you an idea of some of the franchises that we're putting people into now. I did mention health and fitness. This is really big. Longevity is huge. Anthony Robbins has gotten involved in it now, or Tony Robbins rather, in the wellness industry or the longevity industry. Mental health care, who knew? But there are franchises that work in this field: physical therapy, recycling, waste management stuff. Lots of residential services, which are hugely popular because so many people aren't buying houses, they're staying in place. They need windows replaced. They need windows cleaned. They need floors resanded. They need HVAC done. They need plumbing work done. There's landscaping work. There's so many franchises in what we call home services. Senior care services is massive. Today, I forgot the statistic now, but the number of people turning 65, baby boomers, is a huge number and is feeding the senior care service businesses. A lot of people go into that. Healthy food businesses, I mentioned children's education and pet industry, beauty industry, huge. So just to give you an idea, people use franchises every day. They just don't know that they're using franchises. Isn't that interesting? You might ask what franchises cost. It's a great question. When you think about the cost of a franchise, you are thinking about the initial franchise fee that I've already talked about. You're thinking about the hard cost to build it out. So it makes sense, doesn't it, that starting an HVAC business, which you could actually start out of your house, it doesn't require it doesn't require any retail space. It might require a warehouse later on, but you could see how that would be a lot less expensive than the hard cost to build out a UPS store, which is 1,500 square feet of pretty expensive retail space, and the whole thing has to be built out. So you've got the licensing fee, which is the same for everybody, the build out or the hard cost, and then working capital. And any business that you're starting up, you need working capital. You need money in the bank to run the business until you become profitable. If you think about that, here's what franchises cost. About 7% of all franchises in the country are under a $50,000 investment. Once you start getting between $50,000 and $100,000, and now we're entering the service franchise realm, it's about 13%. Under $250,000, about 26%. And I would say this is where most franchises exist, in the $100,000 to $250,000 category. Once we start talking about 250 up, now we're talking about some money. Now we're getting into retail business. But for a lot of people, retail business is a great fit. Okay. So that just gives you a little idea of what franchises cost and how we think about that. Sarah, I see, I'm going to stop for a second, guys. Sarah, I see I have you on the line. Sarah is from Benetrends, and she's going to be one of our speakers. Sarah, is your hard stop exactly at 1 o'clock?
It is, but we can go over like 5 more minutes just in case.
Okay, then I'm going to finish up here in 5 or 6 minutes. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Sounds good.
All right, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. So guys, just continuing on here and getting to the end of my presentation, I told you at the very beginning that we do assessment on people and we help them build what I call a business model. What we're doing is trying to establish their criteria for an ideal business, okay? And we're asking lots of questions that have to do with employees. What kind do you want? How many? Types of customers, retail, commercial. Do you want to build equity? Some businesses build equity better than others. What about the image of the business? Can you see yourself in a plumbing business versus owning, I don't know, a bunch of hair care salons or longevity centers? We talk a lot about the business environment. Do you want to work out of your house? Do you want to work out of an office? Do you want to work in a warehouse? What do you want to do? A retail store. We're very interested in your skill set, your strengths, your weaknesses, that sort of thing. And we want to know the end game. What do you want to do for this business? A business is a vehicle to take you somewhere. Where do you want to go? Once we have all of that information, combined with your assessment results, now we can start putting franchises in front of you that make sense. That's how we work with our clients. Just some common sense advice for you. You got to know your net worth and how much money you've got and can spend. Got to know your living expenses. You got to know your investment level. We can help you with that. Got to be willing to do the research. Got to build your business model. We can help you with that. You got to get advice from other people than just us. We can help you with that. But a lot of times, the best advice you can get is from franchise owners themselves, and we can help you with that. And of course, you need to consult and use professional advisors. Don't do your own tax work and don't do your own legal work when you own your own business. We pay people to do that and they do a better job. So I started with this at the very beginning, and now I'm going to ask you again. What is it that's important to you? What do you want from your business? And I told you what people were looking for. They're looking for control, balance, income, building equity. A lot of times, time for family and interests that they didn't have before working in corporate America because they travel so much. Financial security, being part of the community. You'd be amazed at how many people are coming to us saying, I've never had time to be part of the community. Well, if you own your own business, you have to become part of the community because they buy from you. This is what people want. We think if they use our system, if they take a lot of time to do this, that they can find these businesses that make sense. And this is our approach. We start with an online assessment. I told you that I would be happy to send that to you free of charge. We do face-to-face meetings or Zoom meetings. We're building that business model that I talked about. We're presenting companies that match your model. We get you started on the research. We provide mentoring and coaching along your research path. Of course, we can help you with legal, finance, and what have you. We do all of this free of charge. It's really, I think it's worth every penny of that, by the way, and it's a real good thing to take advantage of. We have a lot of resources, and I can send you some good reading, by the way. I'm happy to do it. And it'll be in this presentation when we send it to you. And then my final quote for the day is the best way to predict the future is to create the future. And you can create the future with business ownership. I hope that makes sense. That is it for me. I'm going to introduce you to Sarah Vrancic. I am so glad she made it. We have a number of partners that we work with, and what is so important are finance partners, and Sarah is part of Benetrends, which is a large organization and probably the most well-known finance organization in the franchise field. They work with the SBA. They do unsecured lending, but they also do retirement rollover plans, which are a way that a lot of people get started in business. You don't have to be buying a franchise. You can be doing anything. And in the interest of time, because Sarah's got to leave us in 20 minutes, and that's about how long her presentation is, I'm going to go ahead and let her go, and then we'll answer some questions afterwards. So Sarah, I know this is quick, but if you are ready, being the consummate professional that you are, I'm gonna get out of this and let you start sharing, okay?
Perfect. Sounds good. I did start sharing. Can you see my screen or not
Yeah, we
yet?
got it right now.
Perfect. Well, Mike, thank you for introducing me. Everyone, thank you for taking the time today. Sarah Vrancic here, Director of Business Development here at Benetrends. And as Mike mentioned, we are kind of all things funding in the franchising and small business environment. We've been in the franchise industry for the past 45 years. So as you can imagine, we've really kind of seen and funded it all across all different industries, investment levels, franchise, non-franchise. I'd say about 80% of our clientele are in the franchise community because that's where we were born and raised, but the other 20% are non-franchises, startups, acquisitions, inventions, you name it. So, as far as the different types of funding options we provide, our bread and butter is a program called the Rollover for Business Startup, which we'll get into. We call that the industry's best kept secret. So, if you haven't never heard of that acronym before, don't feel left out. And then we also specialize in small business loans as well, among some other niche loan programs and debt-based options. So, we'll go over all that's relevant. And, if anyone has questions after this, always happy to jump on a call free of charge, just like, Mike and the FranNet team. So let's get into it. This acronym ROBS, Rollover for Business Startup. We call it the Rainmaker Plan. And in fact, our founder here at Benetrends invented this program 45 years ago, and we helped an Amco Transmissions franchise get up and running with the first ROBS. And ever since then, it's been a well-oiled machine within the industry. And this acronym ROBS stands for Rollover for Business Startup. And many of you on this call might even have done Rob's funding before without realizing it. You're just not funding your own business, you're funding a company you work for. And what I mean by that is, with this program, what we're doing is we're leveraging pre-tax retirement funds, tax deferred and penalty free, to use towards business funding, either outright or a lot of folks leverage this program in conjunction with financing. Now, we're not borrowing against retirement funds. We're not taking them out early and losing 40% to Uncle Sam in tax and penalty. What we're doing is we're rolling these funds from one qualified plan over to the next and investing them into your business in exchange for the cash to use for any business expense, franchise fees, inventory, build outs, salaries, you name it. And many folks out here don't realize that they've already done Rob's funding before. And I always ask on calls, have you ever worked for a publicly traded company? Anyone out there, if you've worked for a publicly traded company, if you're shaking your head, yes. Okay, my next question for you is, did you participate in that company's retirement plan? And most of you probably have. Being at a publicly traded company, participating in that plan, you might have been given the option to buy stock in that company while working there. Or maybe you were awarded it, or maybe it was given you at a discounted rate, what have you. If you answered yes to all those questions, yes, I've worked for a public company, I've participated in the retirement plan, I've invested in that company. Well, congratulations, you've already done Rob's funding. But instead of funding your own business, franchise, or company, you funded the one you were working for when you invested in their shares of stock. That's what we're doing through the Rainmaker plan, the rollover for business startup. What happens when we purchase stock in either our own company or a company we're working for is we get the shares of stock that we've paid through our plan for, but the company selling us those shares of stock walks away with our cash that we used to buy those shares. So I always say, let's pretend I work at Apple. I have an Apple 401k as a W-2 employee. I log into my account and I see that I can buy Apple stock. Let's say I buy 100 grand for $1 a piece. Well, that means I get 100 grand worth of Apple's shares, but the 100,000 my plan used to buy those shares goes right into Apple Incorporated's checking account. And they can use those funds for acquisitions, bonuses, salaries, any business expense. And that's essentially what our founder realized back in the 80s is you don't have to be a public corporation to achieve this type of funding. It just comes down to being strategic with how you set up your business. And that's where Benetrends comes in. We take care of everything from start to finish. So how this program works, there's 4 steps. Step 1 is creating the new corporation. with a company retirement plan. So ABC Inc. doing business as XYZ franchise. We get your articles of incorporation. We get you your EIN number so you can go open up your business checking account at any bank of your choice. Step one is complete. We have ABC Inc. established. Then we move to step two, and that's to design a new company retirement plan rather for this ABC Inc. Let's call it a 401k for now. So we establish the company as step one, we design the plan as step two, and you roll over the funds and participate in that plan as the owner but also employee of your company. So it's just like bouncing from job to job. If I moved from Apple to Microsoft, I can roll my Apple 401k over to Microsoft. Same concept here. You're just rolling your funds into your own company's plan rather than a Microsoft or an Amazon or what have you. Once the funds are rolled over into your new plan, there's one step left, and that's to invest these funds back into the company. So if we roll over 100 grand into ABC Inc., instead of taking that 100,000 and buying stock in Apple with it, you're going to buy 100,000 shares of stock in your own company, ABC Inc., through the plan. And through that transaction, the 401k owns the shares, but ABC Inc. gets wired $100,000. That's now pure liquid cash for you to use for franchise fees, inventory, your salary during startup, marketing, down payment on an SBA loan. We'll get into all the benefits in a minute, but this whole four-step process usually takes about 4 to 5 weeks. It's relatively quick. There's no pre-approval. It's your money. You get to use it now. Now, of course, there's many benefits to this program. Number one, you're leveraging tax-deferred and penalty-free funds rather than losing 40% to the government if you were to take these funds out early. I always say think of it as the government's kind of assuming 30 to 40% of your investment because they would take these funds in any other way. Now, using pre-tax dollars to fund the business, let's save our liquid cash in your actual bank account for a rainy day. We already paid Uncle Sam taxes on that liquid cash, so let's leverage these pre-tax funds and again have the government assume part of our investment. This program, if you use it outright to fund your business, is debt and interest free. You're never required to pay back the account we rolled it over from. There's no interest tied to using these funds. And let's just rip off the Band-Aid if your business for some reason doesn't work out and you fund it outright this way. You're out that chunk of retirement, but your credit doesn't take a hit. You still have the roof over your head. You still have all of your other assets intact. You took a bet on yourself with your own retirement funds. It's just like if I threw 100 grand in Apple today and they went under tomorrow, I'm out my 100 grand. Nothing happens to my credit score. I still have my other cash, etc. Funding can be secured in 3 to 5 weeks. So, SBA we'll get into in a few minutes here, but usually those take a month or two, sometimes 3 months. So this can, secure your funding quicker if you're in a time crunch. And these last two bullet points are my favorite. This Rainmaker plan, this Rob's program, can be used as cash for the down payment on an SBA loan. If you're financing a business for $500,000, SBA usually funds around 80% of that total project. So that leaves the borrower with 100 grand to bring to the table themselves in cash. Well, I don't know about you guys. I don't have 100 grand in my checking and savings, but many people have these funds in a 401k from an old job or a traditional IRA laying around or multiple accounts. You can put that together, leverage this program to open up, tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars of liquidity to then be considered for an SBA loan. And last but not least, so many folks in many different industries are getting laid off. Maybe they're sick of corporate America. This program can be used as a salary during startup. So if your business all in is 150,000, but you need 100 grand to pay yourself, if you have 250 sitting in a retirement account, you could roll that over, use 150 for the business and pay yourself with the remaining 100,000. So if you're worried about paying your bills during your ramp up of your business, well, there you go. You can supplement a little bit more for that income that you're needing during startup. Now, last but not least on this program, I'm sure you may be wondering what programs qualify for ROBS. Rather than giving you a long list of all the programs that qualify, I'll tell you what doesn't. A Roth IRA, is off limits for Robs. This is post-tax. This program has to be a pre-tax retirement vehicle, oftentimes not tied to a current employer. So if you're currently contributing to a 401k at your job and you don't plan on leaving that job, we likely cannot use that account until you plan on leaving that job. So traditional IRAs are great, previous employer accounts, government accounts, TSPs, 457Bs, 403Bs, virtually all of these pre-tax vehicles can be used except a Roth IRA or a current employer retirement account. Also, inherited IRAs are not eligible unless they're from a direct spouse, which we never really like seeing that, right? But all right, moving on to small business loans, SBA loans. Now, this is kind of doing a whole 180 from the Rob's Rainmaker. The Rob's Rainmaker is, debt and interest free. There's no pre-approval. There's no credit score. It's your money. You get to use it. It takes a few weeks to fund. SBA loans are government-backed bank loans. So there's a couple hands in the pot. There's us, there's you as the borrower, there's the government, there's the lenders. But nonetheless, this is a very commonly known strategy for funding many franchises. So, as I mentioned earlier, the bank typically finances around 80 to 90% of your investment, usually more like 80%. They want you to have some skin in the game, kind of like a mortgage. Rates are not fixed with SBA. In some special scenarios, they can be fixed, like if you're purchasing the commercial real estate, but in most cases, the rate is variable, tied to prime, the Wall Street Journal prime rate. Right now, Wall Street Journal prime is at 6.75, and then the lenders add on a fixed margin of up to 3%. So rates right now for SBA are maxing out at about 9.75, and those are adjusted quarterly. So if rates go up or down from quarter to quarter, your rate will follow. But typically they don't raise or lower prime by more than a quarter or half a percentage. It's not like from quarter to quarter they're going to raise or lower rates by 5 points. It's very nominal. Strong personal credit is required. You need about a 690 plus across all three credit bureaus to be considered for SBA with low debt to income ratio. If you have no idea where your credit score is, or if you know you need repair, we also offer credit repair references many of our clients use. You may need to provide collateral for an SBA loan. Typically, if you're borrowing above 350,000, that's the threshold that lenders usually want collateral if you're borrowing above 350, and typically that collateral is the primary residence, rental properties, or an existing business or assets of the business you may already own. But if you're looking to borrow above 350 and you don't have a home to collateralize or any other assets, you probably want to stick to borrowing above under 350. There's not going to be a lender who is quite willing to lend at that point. Also, as of a couple days ago, March 1st, you have to be a US citizen to pursue SBA lending. No green cards, no visas. You have to be a US citizen to pursue SBA lending. SBA lending continued. If any of you have your phones out, this QR code goes straight to our pre-approval application. It is never too early to get pre-qualified for an SBA loan. This is totally free of cost with no hard credit pulls. Takes a few minutes to fill out our application. Once you fill out our application, we ask for a few items like past 2 years tax returns, proof of income. We do an in-house soft credit pull, and then within a few business days, we turn around your results. It's kind of like shopping for a home. You don't want to spend days on end, with Mike or myself or a franchise. Come to find out when it's time to pull the trigger, you can't afford it. So we always stress having these conversations early. We just want to be casual and educational, give you your options on the front end so that you can essentially shop in the right neighborhood. So we can't stress enough. Liquidity, liquidity, liquidity. What does that mean? Cash is king with SBA. Not only do they require 20% down of your investment, they also require, in some cases, post-closing liquidity, an extra 5 to 10% of your investment. So being conservative, I like to tell folks, if you want to go SBA, be prepared to show the bank 30% of your total investment in cash. 20 for the down payment, 5 to 10 for the post-closing liquidity. And again, that cash is checking and savings, liquidated funds from like a brokerage account or something, or funds converted via the Rob's Rainmaker. The bank does not want to see you borrow for that 20% down. They don't want to see you rob Peter to pay Paul. Very, very common path to success, as I kind of mentioned earlier, is leveraging the Rob's Rainmaker in conjunction with an SBA loan. This allows you to show the lender that you can meet and even exceed that equity injection, the down payment requirement, or the cash injection requirement. This is very commonly used when you're purchasing multiple locations of a franchise, because if you're purchasing a three-pack of, a brick and mortar business, you're going to have to pay for 3 franchise fees up front, and usually that's a significant cost. So, again, not a lot of folks have hundreds of thousands of dollars in their checking and savings. They have it in these retirement accounts, so you can leverage the ROBs for, multiple franchise fees or that large down payment while you finance the rest. And last but not least, can't stress it enough, ROBs provides you the ability to pay yourself a salary. So, before considering ROBS, if you just got laid off from a job and you want to pursue SBA, you don't have income. The SBA requires you to have income, not income from the business. They're not counting your future income from the business or franchise because it's not up and running yet. They want to know right now you can pay off this loan and service the debt of your own living expenses. So if you just got laid off and you don't have a job, after considering ROBS, now you have potential income to show the bank. So the leveraging of ROBS and the conjunction of using these two together can really bridge the gap for a lot of folks between unqualified and qualified for an SBA loan. Now, what differentiates us from a regular bank or maybe an SBA broker out there that you connect with on LinkedIn? Big banks out there, even your small local banks, SBA brokers on LinkedIn, sure, they do SBA lending all the time, but very likely not in franchising, and they very likely have never heard or funded the franchise you're pursuing. Whereas our network of lenders in the past 25 of our 45 years we've established a relationship with, one, they're familiar with franchising and the system and how it all works. And two, they're likely familiar with the franchise you're pursuing and have an appetite for more of those projects. So we can be your liaison between you and the right lender for your franchise, your investment, and your industry. But we also have capabilities, as you'll see on this slide to the right, to help with all of the paperwork that comes with an SBA loan. I'm not scaring any of you away from an SBA, but I also am not sugarcoating it. There's a ton of paperwork. There's 3-year financial projections, there's cash flow statements, balance sheets, your 30 to 40 page business plan. Pardon me, but this is actually one of our business plans that we create. Sorry, the background's making it a little blurry, but there's pages here, guys. There's your demographics, your marketing, your competitive analysis, everything about the franchise, background about you. And I'm not putting this paperwork past any of you, but if this is your first time doing an SBA loan, it can be overwhelming. You don't know exactly what the lenders are looking for. So as you see on the right here, we have a basic package that's kind of in the middle. That's where you can kind of find that anywhere else with a big bank or a broker. Everyone in an SBA industry kind of has a basic package. But that basic package does not include all of that paperwork I just mentioned. You're on the hook to do it. The franchise isn't going to help you. The bank isn't going to help you. And time again, we've seen folks say, you know what, I'm going to take it on my own. And then they give us a call back in 6 months saying, they're still not funded yet. So we have an elite package at the top of this slide that's all encompassing. It includes everything. We package up your loan. We do the 3-year financial projections, cash flow statements, balance sheets. We custom tailor your business plan from the ground up. And we know what our lenders are looking for, so it's done right the first try and in a timely manner. So we have a la carte items as well, but long answer short is that elite package is exclusive to Benetrends. We're the only firm who provides it. And my boss probably wouldn't like me saying this, but you can still go get a loan elsewhere and use us for the business plan or the financials. So we offer those items a la carte, but we also, of course, can be your one-stop shop for all things SBA. And you may see a lot of pricing on this slide. All of these costs and fees count towards your 20% down on the SBA loan. So that might sound a little confusing, but schedule a call with me after this. We'll dive in. So here at Benetrends, it's really just being casual and educational. We want to be an extension of Mike and his colleagues and kind of take the funding side off of his plate and your plate as well. We offer unlimited free funding consultations to navigate you through all of your options, even if it's not an option with us at Benetrends. Of course, we establish your funding strategy, get you pre-approved, and then we go on to, launch your business for success. So some best practices, again, know your options on the front end. It's never too early to have a conversation with us just to see what options are there. And if you're not where you need to be today, that's not to say we can't put a plan in place to get you where you need to be, in a couple days, weeks, months, what have you. And again, we can't stress enough to get pre-approved as soon as possible. But that is all I have today. I know it's a ton of information, so thank you for kind of hearing my my word vomit, but this QR code goes right to my contact page with a ton of resources about the Rob's Rainmaker, SBA loans, some other things we do at Benetrends. That's my direct line. You can call, you can text, and that's my email as well. And I appreciate you all for your attention. And Mike, thanks again. Always love joining these.
Thanks, Sarah. I know you've got to go. If we're getting a lot of questions in, but if we're getting any that pertain to you that I can't answer, I will direct them directly to you. One quick one. How long is a pre-approval good for? I assume with the SBA loan.
Yeah, that's a great question. They last for 90 days pre-approvals.
Okay.
And if you go outside the 90-day window, we can always revamp it as long as you didn't go like buy a new house or something.
Is there any 10% as opposed to 20% down payment?
Great question. Usually 10% is more common when you're pursuing an already up and running location of a franchise or existing business. But to be candid with you all, our average down payment is 18%. Just because even though you may be pursuing an existing up and running business that's already generating revenue and profit, SBA still looks at you as a new business owner and new borrower. So I would assume 20%. If we can get 10, great. But it is a little bit more rare. A lot of folks advertise 10%, but we see 20, 18 to 20 mostly.
Final question. Is this green card new law a really big deal? Does it affect you? Does it?
Yes, it is a big deal. We had a couple clients who were in the works with us who had not closed prior to the change. So if that happens, we pivot to maybe unsecured or maybe home equity line of credit. But we've changed our application process. If you're not a citizen, you can't even get to the second page anymore. So we're doing our best to keep it tight. But
All right. Thanks, sir. I know you've got to go. I will tell all you online that the plans that Benetrends has, especially when it comes to dealing with the first time you deal with the SBA and the paperwork, and they're going to want a business plan. Whatever these people charge for it is not enough because it is quite an experience to go through. And to have them do that for you is terrific. So, Sarah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I guess here, if you stop sharing, we're going to bring Andrea on for a final couple of minutes, and then I'm going to answer some questions. Sarah, thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
thank you, everyone. Take care.
Can't hear you, Andrea.
Do you want to do your questions first? There's a ton of them in the chat.
I can, but I can go through them quite quickly because a lot of them are really short answers.
Okay.
So yeah, thanks for all the questions, guys. I appreciate it. I'm looking to turn my business into a franchise. We don't do that, but we have great contacts. There are a couple of companies that I've used over the years that do that. Call me, reach out to me. I'll hook you up with the right people. Looking to turn my business into a franchise. If we don't charge you, if we're free of charge, how do we make money? I always like that one. We're just really nice people that do this for free. Every franchise charges a licensing fee. If we place somebody into a franchise that we represent, we get a referral fee that's part of the licensing fee. We are agnostic as to what we show you. We don't care what franchise you buy. We care that you buy the right franchise. This is what we're trying to do for you, okay? But franchise companies are happy to pay us a referral fee because we bring them qualified, motivated, great candidates that they most often can't get online. You might be interested to know that if you're the UPS store, just to pick one everybody knows, and you close deals to the rate of about 1 out of 300 for the clients that you get online. We send great candidates to people. We reduce their marketing cost, their recruiting cost. And so like a recruiting firm, we get paid kind of the same way, but it's a standard fee. So that's how we get paid. It costs you absolutely nothing to go through our process, and we're happy to do that. My family owns a septic tank business in Florida, and it's very profitable. I love that. I told you, I'm telling you, there are dollars in niches and there are dollars in ugly businesses. So, gosh, I don't see. I lost who that was. Oh, here it is. Dorcas Smith. Thank you. That's great. I love that. What is the minimum needed to invest in a franchise? For the franchises we work with, I would say you need $40,000 of cash. And I would say the minimum cost to get into a franchise, probably about $80,000 or $90,000. Remember what I said in the presentation. What you spend and what you can make off of a business, no correlation whatsoever. We put people into commercial cleaning businesses and do $30 million a year. And it costs a lot less to start a commercial cleaning company than it does one UPS store. Royalties, royalties vary between 4% and 10%. In many cases, it is a percentage of your revenue. In some cases, it's a declining percentage. So the higher your revenue goes, the more your royalties go down as a percentage. In some cases, it's a flat royalty fee. You reach a certain point, let's call it $1,000 a month. I'm just picking a number, and you never have to pay more than that again, no matter how much your sales go up. Pet industry. Danville, you like the pet industry. You'll be interested to know that my new partners coming in to run this business, Heidi and Sean, both are in the pet industry and own successful a pet grooming business called Splash and Dash here in Charlotte. They're building their third store out actually, and pet industry is huge, and quite a good business to get into. Tax preparation are these franchises? Oh my goodness, yes. Jackson Hewitt, H&R Block's not. Yeah, it is. Jackson Hewitt, a couple of others. Most of them are franchises. Boy, the tax preparation business and the accounting business is changing a great deal. And Shelley, thank you for the kind words. We appreciate it. Always like it when people like the presentation. And yes, there'll be notes. So we're going to send to everybody, Andrea, correct me if I'm wrong, a copy of the webinar. And yeah, you'll have all of this. Okay. So if you're absolutely doing nothing late at night and you want something to do, feel free to watch us again.
Did you ever answer the question on who the largest commercial cleaning? Did you answer that?
Did somebody ask?
They guessed Molly Maid.
No, Molly Maid's a residential cleaning business, not a commercial cleaning business. Jan Pro International and Janney King are both the two largest commercial cleaning businesses in the country.
Beautiful.
Good funding. Thank you. How can we get an In-N-Out burger? Go California. I'm telling you, man, In-N-Out burgers. I don't know how we get them here. But I actually read an article on them a few months ago. I can't remember. You got to call In-N-Out Burger. Sorry, I can't help you with that one. But if you get one, I'm coming. Okay. So just so you know, put it in Charlotte. By the way, Mr. Brent, dog training business. Sounds like you've got one, and there are franchises that do that already. I like the business. It can be. I actually resold one time. Be a good profitable business. Okay, Andrea, that pretty much gets most of the questions. Thank you for the questions, everybody. I'm going to let Andrea finish up. I am going to say thank you very much for attending. This was great attendance. I hope you got something out of this worthwhile. And we look forward to hearing from you. We're going to reach out to you with an email, and we're going to send a presentation. Feel free to come back to us, okay? Thank you very much. Andrea, go ahead.
Great. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay, where did it go? Yeah. I don't see it. I don't know where I am now. So y'all see the screen? Okay, thank you for staying with us. As you know, SCORE has been affected by funding, so we're just going to ask for a little help if you can. That would be so gracious. I have to run a little donation video, so if you would just hang on for a few minutes for this video, we would very much appreciate it so that we can continue offering these services to you for free. Again, thanks for joining us today.
Before we wrap up, I want to take just 1 minute to say thank you for joining us today. We know your time is valuable, and we're honored you chose SCORE to help you grow your business. Now, SCORE has always offered these webinars free of charge. But here's the reality. Due to changes in federal funding, some of our support has been delayed or even cut. And while we're committed to keeping these programs free, we need your help to do it. Think of it like this. 6 Today's webinar gave you real value. Maybe leave us a little tip, the way you would for a waitress who gave great service. Or maybe you want to give forward so the next entrepreneur can benefit just like you did. We're only asking if it's within your means. If it's not, please just keep learning and growing with us. But if you can give $5, $10, $25, whatever feels right will be directly helping us keep these webinars free for everyone. There's a secure link in the chat. Takes less than a minute to make a difference. Thank you again for being here, for your energy, and for supporting SCORE's mission to help entrepreneurs thrive.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that's pretty much it. This concludes our webinar for today. Again, I want to thank Mike Hall and Sean Hillman for joining us and supporting SCORE Charlotte. So this concludes the webinar. Thank you. Bye.